BC Radio's On the Coast had an interesting interview this afternoon with a former Vancouver mayor. Here's host Stephen Quinn.
Well, a group of former Vancouver mayors is getting behind calls to legalize marijuana. The group includes Senator Larry Campbell, Sam Sullivan, Philip Owen, and Mike Harcourt, who has also served as the Premier of BC. They've endorsed a campaign that argues marijuana prohibition contributes to gang violence. The former mayors have written an open letter to sitting politicians at all levels of government in BC. One of them, Philip Owen, joins us now. Good afternoon to you.
Hello, Stephen. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. You're endorsing a campaign called Stop the Violence. It's
Yes.
Made up of academics and doctors and former judges and law enforcement officers. Why have you, as the former mayor of Vancouver, come forward with this letter of support to legalize the marijuana trade?
Well, I've been working on this whole issue for 15 years. You know, I came out with when I was in City Hall in the late 90s, the Framework for Action four-pillar approach to drug addiction and so on, and we opened the first supervised injection site, so I've been in on this issue for a long time. Now, I think it's great we're getting some support because we've had nothing but 100 years of failure in Canada and the United States on trying to have prohibition. Prohibition doesn't work and it feeds crime.
The four-pillar approach, though, and the supervised injection site were about reducing harm and stopping the spread of HIV. Tell me what the point of this effort is.
The point of this effort is to get the attention, particularly from the Stephen Harper government, that they're on this tough-on-crime bill where they're going to spend $2.7 billion building jails and housing people in jails like the United States has been doing for a long time. And it's failed. I mean, Canada passed the Anti-Opium Act in 1908. That was 103 years ago. How are we doing so far? Not very well. It's been continually deteriorating. More drugs in the hands of criminals, and more cash being vacuumed out of the economic system, and it should go into the government's cash register.
So how would this work exactly? It would be regulated and controlled like what, like alcohol?
Like alcohol and tobacco. And you know that in Canada, 65,000 people die every year from alcohol and tobacco poisoning. And the federal and provincial governments got their sticky fingers all over it. They're making a ton of money. How many people die from marijuana? None recorded. Zero. And it's all in the hands of the criminals. It's ridiculous.
But why add another drug to that list?
Because we want to separate hard drugs from soft drugs. That's why we're talking about marijuana. We're not talking about all drugs. We're going to start by talking about separation of hard drugs and soft drugs. Let's have one discussion about marijuana and put the hard drugs aside for the time being. And let's work and bring the public and the media along to change their thinking, and hopefully the politicians will listen. But Ottawa's going the wrong way.
But this is about fighting gang crime, is it not? This is about taking the marijuana trade out of the hands of gangs?
Well, that is one of the benefits of it, but the big benefit is you take it away from the gangs and get rid of the criminal element, having all this after-tax cash, obscene amounts of cash, and put it into the government treasuries, and the governments need it. And that way our government will get rid of its deficit, and we'll have more money to spend because we'll have lower taxes and not a great big deficit to fight. It just makes common sense. It's logical and it's realistic.
You say you want to separate hard drugs from soft drugs.
Yes.
Well, why not? I mean, would the gangs then simply not move to cocaine and heroin and ecstasy and other drugs that would be profitable? They'll just switch their trade. They're nimble.
But you got to crawl before you start walking and running. And to bundle it all together, it'll never get off the ground. I think we can grab the public's imagination by saying that heroin is one issue with cocaine, but marijuana is an entirely different issue. Do you know that the past presidents of both Colombia and Brazil and Mexico have all come out and they're trying to legalize it because those countries are under siege? 15,000 people have been killed in Mexico this year. And the ex-presidents of all those three South American countries are all saying, we got to get out of this war on drugs. And that's what it's all about. Let's be realistic about this issue.
Philip Owen, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.